Welcome to Forthright. I'm Sulani Madsen, and as we've been preparing for a Beyond Politics conversation on homelessness, I realized how much our family's connection to homelessness has made a difference in how I see and am able to talk about that issue. Many, if not most, families are touched by mental illness in some way, and ours is no different. Today I want to share two very personal columns about our story. The first was originally published May 11, 2019 in the Spokesman Review. I wrote this not as a column, but as in one sitting in 20 minutes before I'd even had my first cup of tea in a morning when there was a lot of frustration. Here's the column. He is now officially homeless. Thank you, mental health care system. You have done it again. He was living in filth, paralyzed by depression, eating crackers and peanut butter, ignoring his deteriorating physical health, diabetes, hypertension, bipolar disorder. A family advocate brought him to the mental health system looking for a home. It was all about housing first, the news stories reported. The family believed the mental health system had changed. But it was you, system, who told him he needed a referral before he could get supportive housing. You who sent him to a health clinic with wraparound services to get a referral, re-diagnosed the hypertension and diabetes, but wasn't ready to deal with the bipolar disorder. You who told him he needed to be on psychotropic meds before he could go to counseling to get a referral. And so a family advocate found his former private psychiatrist, the one who had last treated him and still had records, one who had re-prescribed powerful meds, who told him he needed to be living in supportive housing for medication management, but had no power to connect him with supportive housing. It's like sending someone with cancer home with a prescription for chemo and no medical management for either effectiveness or dangerous side effects. It was you, mental health system, who told him to call Frontier Behavioral Health for counseling and a housing referral, an effort which took 2 days in a waiting room just to get an intake interview to start counseling the next week. It would have turned into 3 days in the waiting room, but for a family advocate at his side who went righteously indignant at the suggestion to come back and get in line a third day. It was you, mental health system, who told him to call DSHS for that elusive referral. More dead ends and more waiting rooms, more paperwork, more futility that would try the mental health of the most stable and grounded of patients. Meanwhile, the family fed him healthy food, got him moving again, started him healing in body and soul. And then the psychiatric meds kicked in without management. Family can provide a couch for him to surf, but can't be part of the treatment plan. You, mental health system, can't tell them anything. You keep letting the person with the head injury make the decisions. But the family could tell you a few things. They could tell you how this cycle will end when the system fails him again. They could tell you how the unmanaged meds will kick in and the manic side will emerge and the window of opportunity to meaningfully intervene with counseling will vanish. They could tell you about the burst of creative productivity at the border between equilibrium and out of control. They could tell you how the anger will take hold and why he will be homeless because it will no longer be safe for the family to keep him at home. They can tell you how they are resigned to seeing another confrontation end with him in jail. It was the justice system that last got him the healthiest he'd ever been when the court sent him to inpatient treatment. The justice system had a duty to get him well enough to face charges after a traffic stop gone badly. The justice system did their part of the job. The mental health system dropped the handoff in spite of his decent private health insurance. Health insurance does not assure health care. And so his long spiral back down into depths of depression until the family intervened again and tried to find mental health care again and was disappointed again. And here we are, again. Love cannot conquer mental illness. It can only wring its hands and weep in frustration. I totally did not expect to get weepy reading that again, but still, such anger and such frustration. 25 years of trying to find help, trying to walk alongside somebody. It's frustrating. And it's so sad. So that was May of 2019. This is December of 2019, published December 14th, 2019. titled Brother-in-Law Lost to Mental Illness is More Than a Statistic. From mental illness to homeless to hepatitis A. Just another statistic, but now his struggle is over. Today we pick up his ashes. And it shouldn't have to be this way. Kevin Andrew Madsen was born on May 29, 1960 in Council, Idaho, and died November 7, 2019 in Spokane. He graduated from Council High School in 1978, where he competed in wrestling and football. Kevin graduated with a bachelor's degree in range management from the University of Idaho, where he was a member of Phi Kappa Tau fraternity along with his younger brother Craig. He went on to earn a master's degree in weed science from the University of Wyoming. Kevin and his two brothers with their tag-along little sister grew up in a two-room house on a small farm outside Council. An ordinary family supported by Dad's timber wages, a few head of cattle, a milk cow, and Mom's bountiful garden. Not much space indoors, but a lot of room to roam. He and my husband Craig were particularly close, less than 2 years apart in age. He had a good start. It was an awful finish as he lost his decades-long battle with mental illness. He wasn't addicted to anything other than his own bipolar body chemistry. This could be any family story. The signs first surfaced when he moved to Arizona to work for the Bureau of Land Management. He married. He seemed to be settling in. The family back in the Northwest didn't know about his hospitalization, about the unpredictable anger that led a psychiatrist to advise his wife to leave for her safety. Nobody waved a red flag for us. He was transferred to a Bureau of Reclamation office in central Washington, seemingly his choice to move closer to home for a fresh start. We welcomed him back. It was the start of our 20-year journey alongside Kevin in the mental health care system. So many what-ifs. So many missed opportunities. Such a broken system. In less than a year after arriving in Washington, he found himself retired out on full disability. Letters from mental health experts confirming how debilitating his bipolar disorder had become. His problem was not resources. He had family, a monthly pension, and good quality health insurance covering mental health care. But he was on his own to navigate physicians focused on their own specialties, prescribing multiple medications. Counseling and dietitians and diabetes educators and podiatrists to keep track of, landlords and housekeeping and bills to manage. It's a lot to ask of a man diagnosed as too mentally ill to cope with a job. This summer was a difficult one. After becoming officially homeless in May, he bounced between Spokane and southern Idaho. He ended up on foot in Spokane, angry at the world and at us as his health deteriorated. August and September were particularly hard. He was found unresponsive at the long-term care facility he'd been admitted to for rehab and died 12 days later in the critical care unit of Spokane's Deaconess Hospital after difficult decisions to cease aggressive treatment. If only the mental health care system applied the same coordinated aggressive treatment at the beginning of the diagnosis as we do at the end of life. Kevin's greatest wish for this year was to be back in the woods, bow hunting for an elusive elk or fishing for a wily steelhead. His photography captured nature with amazing clarity. He loved karaoke and Western swing dancing. His roots in Council always pulled him back, and he talked of great plans for the old home place. He could throw himself into ranch work with much energy on his good days. He was more than a statistic. Kevin was creative and caring, headstrong and hard to live with, and he leaves a hole in the world. Kevin had a relationship with God perhaps similar to so many of his relationships on earth. Sometimes close and tender, sometimes angrily pushing those who would love and help him away. Last summer, he recounted standing in a field and yelling out in anger and frustration at God and feeling his presence. He thought he might turn his life around, but anger took hold again. Although he never fully regained consciousness after his collapse, we continue to pray that Kevin surrendered and accepted God's unconditional love in his final days. It's all he ever wanted. It's what we all want, unconditional love. Open the eyes of your heart to see the glory of God, to accept Jesus Christ's forgiveness and the embrace of the Holy Spirit. And this Christmas, practice kindness in memory of Kevin's good days. Christmas 2019 was kind of hard. If you ever hear me on a future Forthright or on a column writing about homelessness and mental health, you'll know why sometimes that frustration and anger might come through. We so disappointed. So much potential there, and such a disappointment to have let him down. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Forthright. You're invited to subscribe to Substack at Sulani Madsen, or to follow Spokane Talk's YouTube channel for more editions. I hope that this special edition makes an impression and gives you some insights into what's wrong with our mental health care system.